She walked out of her high school on an ordinary Florida afternoon, 16 years old, an honors student, pregnant, and carrying a future that everyone around her believed was already written in bright ink. Ayanna Sawyer never made it home. At first, it looked like a runaway case. That assumption would almost cost investigators everything, because the truth wasn't waiting on the streets, or in a stranger's car, or buried in some unknown danger. The truth was already inside the family, and it was recording everything. Subscribe to Silent Authority for real true crime stories told with honesty, dignity, and respect. This is the story of how a teenager vanished without a trace, how a family begged for help while hiding a secret, how a trusted relative became the center of a murder investigation, and how one brave decision from a brother who refused to lie helped expose a killer who believed reputation mattered more than life itself. This is the story of Ayanna Sawyer and the recording that caught her killer. Ayanna Sawyer was the kind of student teachers remember years later. She earned high grades, she stayed focused, she talked about the future with confidence, not fantasy. She was known as disciplined, respectful, and motivated. Friends described her as quiet but warm, serious about school, and deeply committed to proving she could succeed despite challenges at home. She attended Blanche Ely High School in Pompano Beach, Florida. She was also pregnant, 16 years old, carrying a child, and determined not to let that define her limits. Those closest to Ayanna said she was nervous but hopeful. She talked about college. She talked about independence. She talked about becoming a mother while still becoming herself. What she didn't talk about was fear, because whatever fear she carried, she kept it hidden. On the afternoon of November 5th, Ayanna walked out of her high school after classes ended. She was seen leaving campus. She was captured on surveillance cameras. She was alive. That is the last confirmed sighting of Ayanna Sawyer. When she didn't return home that evening, concern set in quickly. This was not a girl who disappeared without explanation. She wasn't known to skip school. She wasn't known to stay out late. And she certainly wasn't known to abandon her family without contact. By nightfall, panic had replaced concern. Her mother reported her missing. What followed was a search fueled by confusion, contradictions, and a growing sense that something was very wrong. In the early days, investigators treated the case cautiously. Teenage disappearances often follow familiar patterns: running away, secret relationships, voluntary absence. But Ayanna didn't fit those patterns. She left without money. She left without clothes. She left without her phone charger. And she left without telling anyone. Her pregnancy only deepened the concern. Running away while pregnant with no preparation made little sense. Still, law enforcement needed evidence, and that evidence was slow to appear. Family members were interviewed. Friends were questioned. Teachers were consulted. Everyone said the same thing: Ayanna wouldn't just leave. But there was one person whose story stood out, a man the family trusted, a man Ayanna trusted, a man everyone called Uncle John. John Gallagher was not Ayanna's biological uncle, but he was treated like family. He had been around for years. He was familiar, comfortable, trusted. He was also deeply concerned with his image. Gallagher was known as strict, religious, and intensely focused on reputation. According to those who knew him, he valued appearances above all else. Being respected in the community mattered to him. Being seen as moral mattered to him, and the idea of a pregnant teenage girl connected to his household. That mattered too. Investigators learned that Ayanna had been spending time around Gallagher's home. She trusted him, she felt safe around him. That trust would become fatal. Early interviews with Gallagher raised subtle red flags. His timeline was vague, his concern felt rehearsed. His focus often drifted back to how the situation looked rather than what had happened. Still, there was no body, there was no crime scene, there was no weapon, and without those things, suspicion alone wasn't enough. Until digital evidence began to speak. Ayanna's phone records revealed activity after her disappearance. Messages sent, movements tracked, and one crucial detail stood out. Her phone had connected to a cell tower near Gallagher's home. Investigators pressed further. They discovered deleted data, location pings, patterns that suggested Ayanna had not gone far at all. She had gone to someone she trusted. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered inconsistencies in Gallagher's statements. Small changes, shifting details, explanations that didn't align with physical evidence, but still nothing concrete. Until Ayanna's brother made a decision that would change everything. Her brother was young, he loved his sister, and he loved his family, but he loved the truth more. During interviews, he mentioned something that caught investigators' attention. A conversation, a moment, something that didn't feel right. He spoke about recordings, about a device, about words that never should have been said. Slowly, painfully, the truth began to emerge. There was a recording, and it captured more than anyone expected. The recording was not a confession in the traditional sense. There was no explicit admission of murder. Instead, it was something more chilling, a conversation, a manipulation, a glimpse into the mindset of a man trying desperately to control a narrative. In the recording, Gallagher could be heard discussing Ayanna. His tone was not panicked, it was calculated, concerned not with her safety, but with consequences. What would people think? What would happen to him? How could this be handled quietly? Investigators listened carefully, and they heard guilt in the gaps. Still, prosecutors knew the case was fragile. No body meant no direct proof of death. No weapon meant no clear cause, and family involvement complicated everything. They needed more, so they took a risk. An undercover operation inside a jail cell. Gallagher was arrested on unrelated charges, creating an opportunity investigators had been waiting for. They placed an undercover informant in his cell. The goal was simple: let him talk, and talk he did. In conversations with the informant, Gallagher revealed his fears, his anger, his belief that he had been wronged. And then he revealed something else, details only the killer would know. He spoke about actions taken, mistakes avoided, and the belief that without a body, he would walk free. Those conversations were recorded, and this time they were undeniable. With that evidence, prosecutors moved forward. The trial was emotional. Ayanna's mother sat in court, listening to recordings of a man she once trusted discuss her daughter like a problem to be solved. Her brother testified, his voice shaking, choosing truth over blood. The defense argued circumstantial evidence. The prosecution argued pattern, intent, and consciousness of guilt. In the end, the jury agreed. John Gallagher was found guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison. Ayanna's body has never been recovered. Justice, in this case, did not come with closure. There was no funeral, no grave, no final goodbye, only answers and accountability. Ayanna Sawyer was 16 years old. She was an honors student, she was pregnant, she was loved, and she deserved a future. Her life was taken not by a stranger in the dark, but by someone trusted in the light. This case is a reminder that danger does not always look dangerous. Sometimes it looks familiar, sometimes it sounds calm, and sometimes it records itself. For Ayanna's family, the pain never ends, but neither does the truth. And because one voice chose to speak, a killer no longer walks free. This has been the story of Ayanna Sawyer, and the recording that caught her killer.